This video was made possible by Skillshare. Start learning for free for 2 months by signing up at skl.sh/HAI36. Привет and welcome back to Travel as Interesting, the Russian travel channel that used to be about kind of interesting things before we ran out of kind of interesting things and sold to a Russian media conglomerate. One quick note, sincere congratulations to our mighty leader Vladimir for winning the 2024 election. Now, here are some of my favorite places to go in Russia. Moscow, and this building, and this guy's house. Who am I kidding? I'm not cut out for this. I mean, way more people have been to Russia than I have, and honestly, I'm really more qualified to talk about interesting pieces of linguistics trivia instead. Like how the sentence, more people have been to Russia than I have, is totally meaningless and an iconic example of something called an Escher sentence. Take a look at it again. It doesn't make any sense when you actually think about it, but you didn't pick up on that when I first said it, did you? Fortunately, there's a simple explanation for this. You are a big dumb dummy. To be fair though, everyone is. Well, I'm not, of course. I mean, look how many YouTube subscribers I have. That's big brain territory. But all your brains are mushy and lazy, and when parsing language, they often take convenient shortcuts by relying on familiar structures and patterns. The sentence looks right because it's a seamless blend between two sensible grammatical palettes, and when combined, your brain is still able to find a vague meaning that's somewhere in between the two. In fact, we're so reliant on common linguistic structures that unconventional yet still totally grammatically correct sentences can be almost impossible for us to understand, like, I think toilet paper should go in the under orientation. Or maybe a better example would be, the horse raced past the barn fell. Did the barn fall? Is a barn fell a thing? Like some kind of Amish funeral or something? What does this sentence mean? Well, if we modify it like this, it suddenly becomes super clear that it was actually the horse that bit the dust. The horse raced past the barn fell is a great example of a garden path sentence where an ambiguity in a word's meaning can lead our brains down the wrong linguistic path, sort of like how an ambiguous sign can lead my bike down the wrong path into a surprisingly real-looking mural of a tunnel, shattering my spine and likewise shattering my chances of ever making it to the Tour de France, giving me no option but to become an incredibly successful and popular YouTuber instead. Basically, we expect raced to be an active verb since that's usually how sentences are structured. We wouldn't have any way of knowing that it's actually a passive verb until we finish reading the sentence, gotten all confused and angry, and thrown our computer at the intern. This sort of lexical ambiguity can take reasonable, legitimate sentences and make them look completely incoherent to the average person. This is why my recent police report, Buffalo, 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 landed me in a psych ward while those horrible buffalo continued to roam free. Whether my nurse believed me or not, Buffalo, 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 Buffalo is actually a completely grammatically correct sentence, but given that every word here is ambiguous, it's essentially impossible to read without explanation. You see, buffalo can be an animal, a town in New York, or, if you're an eccentric old man living in 19th century rural America, it can be a verb meaning to bully. I was merely attempting to explain that buffalo from buffalo, which other buffalo from buffalo bully, also bully buffalo from buffalo. Or, in other words, buffalo buffalo, which buffalo buffalo buffalo, also buffalo buffalo buffalo. You know, it might sound like silly nonsense to you, but sooner or later, one of these buffalo is going to get hurt, and you can blame lexical ambiguity for that. You can also blame lexical ambiguity for my failure to pass police reform laws in Police Poland, where my plan was, essentially, police police, police police police, police police police. In fact, you can take any word that serves as a collective noun, adjective, and verb, and turn it into an equally incoherent yet legitimate sentence. I mean, it won't get you anywhere besides that psych ward, but you can take comfort in knowing that you technically didn't break any grammatical rules along the way. Now, it's hard to write a more confusing sentence than that without breaking any rules in English, but much like our potential for surveilling our own citizens using terrifying facial recognition software, China has the English-speaking world narrowly beat. In fact, there's an entire Chinese poem called Lion-Eating Poet in the Stone Den, composed of 92 characters, all of which are pronounced she, just with different tones. Now, if this poem looks unreadable to you, it's probably because you don't speak Chinese, unless you do, in which case it's probably because the romanized version of this poem is pretty much incomprehensible to Chinese speakers and kind of just looks like the transcript of a helicopter taking off. You see, this poem makes perfect sense when written out in Chinese characters, with each character having a different core meaning, or when spoken in certain Sinitic languages like Cantonese, where the syllables have 22 different pronunciations, but in present-day Standard Mandarin, which has been vastly simplified over the past century, there are only 4 distinct syllables in this entire poem, making it almost impossible to understand. It also doesn't help that the poem is about a guy that's addicted to eating lions but ends up eating a bunch of rocks that look like lions instead, which is honestly a pretty bad premise and confusing enough as is, but I'll leave the narrative analysis to the experts down in the YouTube comments section. Now, if all the sentences you write are as incomprehensible as the ones I've talked about today, you might want to check out Hanif Abdurakid's class, Writing for Expression, How to Make Your Words More Artful and Lyrical, which you can watch today on Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with classes on video production, graphic design, entrepreneurship, digital music production, and pretty much anything else you'd ever want to learn, but better yet, you can do so for only a few minutes a day. You could take the time you normally spend wandering in aimless circles around your house and spend it learning a useful skill that you could use to get ahead in life. Doesn't that sound nice? Well, best of all, the first 1,000 people to visit skl.sh/HAI36 can get 2 months of Skillshare Premium for free, and after that, you can get an annual subscription for less than $10 a month.